What's up guys, we're back on the YouTubes. I know I said I would only be gone for about 2 weeks when Link was born, and that 2 weeks has turned into like 7 weeks or something like that, but there has been a lot going on, so let me catch you up on that. First of all, Link, our first son, was born. He will be 8 weeks old at the time that this video goes live, so there's that part, obviously. We also hired our first assistant coach for Treadaway Training during that time and experienced our largest spike in membership growth in Treadaway Training history during that time. So with all of that stuff combined, it has been a little hectic around here. But the good news is, we have some equipment for review, so you're gonna have some of those videos coming in the future. We have a nice garage gym update for this video, so we are back for the foreseeable future. And the channel did hit 4K subs during the time that I was off, so I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. You're awesome. I obviously couldn't have done it without you. And last but not least, during that time, I've attempted to grow a beard. As you can see, it's not really going all that well, and it's probably gonna get shaved soon. But while I've been off of YouTube for a few weeks, I thought I would at least try. We're gonna divide this video up into 7 categories. First up is your must-have equipment. Second category is the stuff that could be must-have depending on your goals, or depending on your goals, it could bump it down to being unimportant. Third is equipment that's probably a little bit too specific. And what I mean by that is equipment that's not bad equipment. It's certainly not that by any means, but it could just be a little bit too specific, so it's not versatile enough. Maybe it takes up too much floor space. Maybe it's too expensive for what it does, or some combination of the 3. Fourth category is DIY equipment. Fifth is going to be accessories and attachments. Sixth will briefly touch on flooring and storage. And the 7th and final category will briefly touch on some planned future updates for the basement gym. But before we get into the video, hi, my name is Ryan Treadaway, founder of TreadawayTraining.com, where we turn skinny guys into jacked men. If you want more information on body transforming training and nutrition topics every Sunday, consider subscribing. First, we'll talk about the must-have equipment. Depending on your goals, there could be 2 branching paths that you could go down to consider must-have equipment. For a lot of my audience who are focused on both muscle mass and strength, you're probably gonna go down the route of a barbell, weights, rack, and a bench. Or you could go down the dumbbell and adjustable bench route, but eventually, if you're wanting to continue building out your home gym, you're gonna end up purchasing both of those things. So it's just a matter of which one you wanna allocate your budget to first. And if you are on a budget, I would recommend most of that budget go towards the bar, because the bar is your connection to the weights. If you get a cheap bar, you're gonna get cheap knurling. So if you're doing things like deadlift, you're not gonna be able to get a good grip on the bar. Or if you're doing squats, the center knurling is not gonna get a good grip on your back, and it'll wanna slide down your back. This is the Rep Power Bar Deep Knurl EX. I absolutely love this bar. The knurling is very aggressive, so if you don't want super aggressive knurling, you want something that's pretty aggressive, or what I would probably say semi-aggressive. I've heard really good things about the Rogue Ohio Power Bar as well, so that would be an option as well. The rack that we're using is the Rogue RML3. It's a little bit more on the expensive side. If you're on a budget, you could get by with a much cheaper rack that is still a very good rack. For example, the Rep PR 1100 is a very good rack. I've watched videos of dudes squatting like 700 pounds in that rack without it wanting to flip over or anything like that. So it's a very good rack for only a couple $100. But when we bought this rack, we were getting what was available at the time because we got it at the beginning of the pandemic. Next up on the must-have equipment list is going to be your bench. Now, the decision you'll have to make when it comes to the bench is flat bench versus adjustable bench, and my recommendation is, if you're on a budget, go with a flat bench, and if you have plenty of money to spend, go with an adjustable bench because of the extra versatility. If you go with a cheap adjustable bench, it is going to be garbage. It's going to be wobbly, it's not gonna be stable at all, and it's eventually going to break or get replaced by something different, and you'll have just wasted your money. Whereas you can get a good flat bench, since it doesn't have the moving parts, for a lot less money. For example, this is the top of the line bench that Rep sells, and it was only 150 bucks. And I think they have gone up on the price. I think it's maybe like 160 now, maybe 170, something like that, but still under 200 bucks, and you've got a top of the line competition style flat bench. And on the adjustable bench side of things, this guy, which is also one of the top of the line adjustable benches, it costs $400. And then the leg attachment to be able to do decline presses and decline ab work and stuff like that, this was another 90 bucks. And so we're talking about 525, 550 bucks, something like that, by the time you pay shipping and all of that. And so to get an equivalent quality adjustable bench, that's how much more money it is than to get a really good flat bench. So if you're on a budget, flat bench. If you have more money to spend, adjustable bench. I would say the absolute minimum that you could get away with spending on an adjustable bench while still getting decent quality is probably going to be 200 bucks. And that's probably getting down into a little bit lower quality than you would like. So maybe even 250 bucks. So if you're under that price point, this is the route that you'll want to go. Next up, we have weight plates, because if you're going to lift weights, you need weight to lift. Now, the recommendation for weights is going to be a little bit different than the other recommendations that I've given so far, because when it comes to weight plates, you should just get the cheapest weight plates that you can possibly find that will suit your goals. If you are a high-level power lifter or a high-level Olympic lifter and you need calibrated plates because you compete a lot and you really want that accuracy, that's a different story. But for the average person, it's just weight that hangs off the bar. So just get the cheapest weight that you can find to save room in the budget for other things. If you can find them on sale at a sporting goods store, or if you can find them at a garage sale or Facebook Marketplace or eBay or wherever you can get them for a decent price, get them for as cheap as you can. These plates specifically, you'll notice that we have two different sets here. We actually got a deal at Academy, my parents did, to where they got a pair of 45s, a pair of 35s, a pair of 25s, a pair of 10s, two pairs of 5s, and a pair of 2.5s, and a cheap, crappy bar, but you know, whatever. And it was only 180 bucks. And so they bought two different sets of that to add up to all of the weight that's on this rack. And then we also have some bumper plates, and I wouldn't recommend bumper plates for most people. I would recommend you to just do your deadlifts on a deadlift platform or have rubber flooring on your gym floor versus buying bumper plates, because bumper plates can be more expensive a lot of the times. They take up more space on the bar, so you can't put as much weight on the bar. And then also over time, they will degrade and crumble depending on the quality of the bumper plates that you're getting, versus the metal plates are always gonna be good to go. The reason why we have bumper plates is because my parents simply found a really good deal on them. This was at the height of the pandemic. We needed more weight and couldn't find anywhere with weights in stock, and then we found a reseller that got defect Rogue plates, which quite frankly, they're pretty close. There's a little bit of bowing in a couple of these lighter plates like this, but it's not really noticeable at all. There's a kind of a couple of flakes where the shavings aren't exactly perfect, but they got these for really cheap, and that's how we ended up with bumper plates. The only way I would recommend bumper plates is if you're doing Olympic lifting or CrossFit stuff where you're actually dropping the bar from chest height or head height or something like that. Next up in the must-have category is going to be your dumbbells. Now, depending on your budget and your floor space, there are a few different routes that you can go. If you have chosen to go down the barbell path first and you're on a really, really tight budget, then the best option would be to get just some Olympic dumbbell handles. This is an incredibly cheap option that's going to get the job done, and you already have the weight because you have the plates, and so you can get these. I think I got 2 handles plus an easy curl bar as like a combo package. Granted, these aren't super high quality. I think I got these for $5 or something like that. So for 55 bucks, you could go as heavy as you ever wanted to go with dumbbells. Granted, these aren't the best option because when we're talking about dumbbell bench and things like that, and you want to put the dumbbells on your knees, this can get really awkward really fast because how small that diameter is right there, and putting it on your knee right there, it's going to be hard to balance that weight, and it's going to be very uncomfortable. So it's not the best option, but it is a great cheap option. The best option for most people when it comes to dumbbells is going to be to go with a set of dedicated adjustable dumbbells. And the reason for that is simply because, one, it's cheaper than buying fixed dumbbells, because if you were to buy fixed dumbbells, each time you buy the next step up in weight, it's going to be more and more and more expensive because the dumbbells get bigger and bigger. Whereas if you buy an adjustable set of dumbbells, then you already have as much weight as you're gonna need all at once, one-time purchase, and you're good to go. And two, it takes up a lot less space as well. So if you see the Ironmaster dumbbell stand right there versus these fixed dumbbells, we have 2 pounds up to 70 pounds, whereas with this, we have 5 pounds up to 165 pounds. So 165 pounds per dumbbell all fits in that little stand versus 2 pounds up to 70 pounds takes up 3 of these small dumbbell racks. So it starts all the way over there and ends right there, and you're only going up to 70 pounds. So if you wanted to go up to 100 pounds, then it's going to take up the rest of that wall, and you're still not getting as much weight as you would with this, again, which is just in that tiny little storage stand. I have spoken many times in the past about how much I love these Ironmaster dumbbells, and I do actually have a ranking video where I compare all kinds of different adjustable dumbbell options to see which one might be the best option for you. And then we also have the Nuobel adjustable dumbbells, and these just came in for review about a week ago, and so I have these that I'm going to be doing a video on soon as well. Next up is Monkey Feet. There's a chance that you might have seen these on Instagram or Facebook. They've done a lot of social media marketing, and these things are not a joke. They're no gimmick at all. These things are really very interesting and amazing. So if you're using dumbbell only, you can hit every muscle of the body, but it can be hard to isolate certain muscle groups. It's hard to do leg curls, for example, and there's a few different, you can't do leg extensions, things like that. Whereas with this, you can simply attach a dumbbell to the bottom of your foot, and then now you can isolate those leg muscles. There's some really cool ab exercises that you could do. Or if you wanted to, if you had 2 of these, you could even put a dumbbell on the bottom of each foot and use it for weight for weighted pull-ups as well. So there's a lot of really interesting exercises that you can do with this that you would not be able to do with dumbbell only. So this is a game changer for hamstrings, for quads, for some of those leg exercises that are hard to isolate. Next up is a plyo box, specifically an adjustable plyo box. And there are so many things that you can do with this guy right here. You can do things like step ups, you can do decline push-ups or incline push-ups. You can put your feet up on it to do inverted rows. You could do agility work with it, lateral jump, box jumps, bounds, things like that, all kinds of different things that you can do there. Or you could do what I'm doing with it right now and use it as a seat, so you can sit on it and do different seated exercises. Or you could even use it for a platform for landmine exercises. So you put your weight on there, put it up on the platform, and then when you're doing certain exercises, like maybe certain pressing exercises, or if you're using the landmine for some DIY calf raises or something like that, then you don't have to pick it up from the floor to do those exercises. It's already up off the ground for you. The last thing in the must-have category is going to be either a set of resistance bands or a cable setup. This is actually a DIY cable setup that we made for like 50 or 60 bucks. We'll talk more about that in the DIY section. But one of the things with free weight only, there are certain, angles that you're unable to hit certain muscle groups and things like that. Whereas if you can pull in different directions other than just against gravity, there are some different angles that you can hit different muscles at, different muscles that you can isolate in different ways and things like that. So having one of these two things is going to greatly increase the versatility of your workouts. And this is going to be the cheapest option and the easiest option. You can get a nice set of resistance bands that comes with 5 bands, a couple of single handles, a couple of leg attachments for your ankles, the door anchor, a carrying bag, all that other stuff for like 16 or 17 bucks. But for a little bit more money, if you want to do a DIY cable setup for 50 or 60, this is going to be a lot better. So as long as you have one of these two options, you've got your bases covered though. Moving on to the could be, must have, or could be an important depending on your goals category. The first thing that we're going to talk about is a weight vest. If you have a barbell and weight plates only, then this could be a really cool way to add a lot of versatility. Specifically, one of these Kinsey easy vests, because you can just load them with Olympic plates versus having to buy into a weight vest system that's going to be, $300 to get all of the weight that you're going to need to have for it. This one is still pretty expensive. This one is, I think, $200, but they have 2 models under this, which will also do the job. I think they have one that's as cheap as like 99 bucks, which is a really versatile piece of equipment for only 99 bucks. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with it, like weighted push-ups, weighted inverted rows. You can do weighted ab work with it. The weight stop is removable from the front or the back with the 2 higher models. It's not on the lowest model, but if you wanted to do weighted sit-ups, then you could take the back weight sleeve off and do your weighted sit-ups, or if you're wanting to do push-ups, you could take the front sleeve off and then do your weighted push-ups without hitting the ground with that weight sleeve. There's just all kinds of versatility that you can use this for. You could use it for step-ups, lunges, pull-ups. I already mentioned the push-ups and the rows, the ab work, all kinds of different stuff that you could accomplish with just one piece of equipment. And that is the name of the game, versatility, when it comes to garage gym, since you're working with a limited space and a limited budget. But of course, if you have lots of equipment, you have a barbell, you have dumbbells, you have cables, all of this other stuff, some of the uses of the Easy Vest would be kind of redundant when you have those other loading options available. So that's why I say it's conditionally must have. Next up is the Blaze Pod training system. This is a very interesting setup here. So you have all of these different pods that can light up different colors. It has RGB lights built into them. And then there's a companion app that goes along with this. And then you can program these to do different things for different types of agility drills. You can do reaction type stuff where you're going and hitting the one that lights up a certain color. So it works on that reaction time of seeing something and then going and getting it. Or you can just do some more simple things where you're just doing like 5 back, 10 back, 5 back, some more basic agility stuff. And if you have athletic specific goals, then this is a way more fun way to train agilities versus just using some cones and a stopwatch. And there are also some cool games that you can do these with as well, which I showed in the review that I did on these. But the reason why this falls into that second category is because if you don't have agility specific goals, then you don't need these. And 2, they are pretty expensive as well. So they get relegated to the second category, not the first category. Next on the list is going to be a multi-grip pull-up bar. Multi-grip pull-up bars are really nice. You can hit your lats and traps with different grip angles and grip widths and things like that. But basically all squat racks nowadays come with a pull-up bar as one of the top uprights of the squat rack. So if you have a squat rack, you already have access to pull-ups, and then you can do different grip widths with a standard pull-up bar, and then you can do overhand and underhand grip with a straight pull-up bar. And so adding the ability to do 45-degree grips or neutral grips is something that, you know, is not going to be worth it to spend that extra money for a lot of people, but could be worth it for some. Getting into the third category, which is the category that is a little bit too specific, that it's hard to recommend for a lot of people out there. And it's not that these pieces of equipment are bad or anything, it's just that they take up too much floor space or are too specific for the amount of floor space that they take up, or maybe they cost too much money, or whatever the case may be. And previously, I had done a garage gym tour where I had put the treadmill in the second category, but I've decided to bump it down to that third category simply because even if you do have cardio specific goals, there's plenty of ways that you can do cardio without the need for a treadmill, which even if you have a smaller treadmill or one of those that fold up, it still takes up space and it's still expensive. So the treadmill, and then we've also added the stationary bike right here. This is kind of the same situation. We have plenty of floor space in the basement so we can add those things, but for most people, I wouldn't recommend these unless you have that floor space available and the budget available. Curl bars are another thing that falls into that category of nice to have, but not necessarily mandatory to have. And somehow over the course of time, we've collected several curl bars. This one, as I mentioned earlier, came with those Olympic dumbbell handles as a set. And then we ended up getting this one just because this one isn't super nice, and two, you know, sometimes if you're working out with someone else at the same time and you want to go at the same time, it's nice to be able to have two of them. And then we've also ended up with a rackable curl bar as well. And this is something that is completely unnecessary, but could provide some benefits if you like to do a lot of tricep work, a lot of bicep work, or even some pressing exercises, and certain grip angles cause you elbow pain or shoulder pain or whatever the case might be. The Easy Curl Bar is a really good way to get around that. This one is Marcy brand, which is also what those dumbbells are. This one is a Titan bar, and this one is a Rep Fitness rackable curl bar. A glute ham developer, or GHD for short, it takes up a decent amount of floor space. They can be pretty expensive if you get a nicer one, and it does only a couple of things. So it's really good at what it does. It's really good at targeting spinal erectors and the glutes and hamstrings, and you could even flip around and do a little bit of ab work on it if you're creative, but that's all it does, and it does take up a lot of floor space and is pretty expensive. This one was given to me by a good friend. So Jim, if you're watching this, you're awesome. All-in-one gyms go even further in that opposite direction of, I pretty much wouldn't recommend an all-in-one gym to anyone unless you find one for a really good deal, because they take up a lot of space. Usually they're not super great quality. You're limited on the amount of weight that you can add to it. But if you do find one for a very low price, you can get one secondhand. They can have a decent amount of variety that you can get lots of good exercises in. So it's worth considering, but I would not recommend one of these for most people. And frankly, I've not used this one in probably over a year. Next is inversion boots. There's only a couple of specific things that you can do with these. You can hang upside down for spinal decompression, which is what they're actually designed to do, or you can put them to work to actually build some muscle by doing some inverted ab work as well. But really that's the only thing that you're gonna get out of these, and they're about $100. So they don't really take up any floor space because you could just hang these anywhere, but for what they do, they're pretty expensive. Getting into the DIY portion of the video, the absolute best piece in this category is this DIY cable setup, which I had already mentioned in that must-have section of the video. I do have a video that shows how to set up 4 different variations of a DIY cable option. 3 of them are permanent, 1 of them is temporary. This one is mounted to this post here, and there is a high cable option if you detach the little clip up here, and then there's a low cable option as well. So there's lots of different things that you can do with this. You can do, of course, your lat pull downs, you can do your tricep extensions, biceps, combine it with a couple of the accessories that we'll talk about in a moment, and you can train literally every single muscle group in your entire body with this one $50 DIY. Next is the DIY landmine setup. There's a couple of different DIYs here, so we'll touch on one at a time. First of all, the part that actually makes it a landmine, which is attaching one end of a barbell to something fixed and then the other end is free. And you can buy a landmine that attaches to a rack, or a base plate landmine that's freestanding, or one that goes with a weight plate and sits in the insert of a weight plate. All kind of different stuff like that. But you don't have to spend any money to do a landmine, because all you need is the corner of a room. All we did here was took a thick cardboard box, cut the corner out of it, and stuck it in the corner of the room. And then we took a piece of scrap carpet to put there as well, for a piece of extra padding and extra protection so that you're not damaging the wall. And then boom, that's gonna work just as good as if you had an actual $50 or $100 landmine setup. And then another DIY that we have here is, this is actually a floor jack with an old t-shirt on top of it to keep from messing up the bar. And then it works for a great stand, so that when you're loading the plates on and off of the landmine setup, it's off the ground so that you can load those plates on there easily without having to pick it up and hold it in one hand and load the plates with the other. And then combine that with an accessory. We'll kind of get ahead of ourselves and jump into one of the accessories here too, is this nifty little landmine attachment. So it just has a metal sleeve that goes onto your bar, and then it has a chain that hangs from that, and then you can attach basically any handle that you could think of, any type of cable handle to it, to really increase the versatility that you can get with this piece of equipment, with the landmine. And you can even mimic some cable exercises with this as well. So you could do cable curls, for example, like rope curls, rope extensions, and things like that by using one of these. And you can even do calf raises, which we'll talk about next. Now, this DIY took a lot of experimentation, but we were eventually able to make it work. And we have a DIY seated calf raise machine that feels very close to an actual dedicated calf raise machine. So there's a lot of things going on here, and I'll walk you through all of the different DIYs that come together to make this work. So first, we have the landmine that we had already talked about. And then we have the landmine sleeve attachment here. And what you do is you load your weights on first, you put a good barbell collar on after that, then you slide that sleeve attachment on and put another collar up top, attach a lat pull down handle, and then you add a couple of dense foam noodles, kind of like pool noodles, on there for padding for the knees. And then we also have a DIY calf raise block that I made out of some wood that we had around the house. Bing, bang, boom. A lot of DIYs coming together to make a really cool DIY machine. And a really cool thing about this DIY calf raise block that we did is, on the inside, I added a little horizontal support as well, not just vertical supports, so that it can be dual purpose. So not only is it a calf raise block, but you can actually push this up against this post here, and it can be a horizontal foot platform for when you're doing low rows and exercises like that, to give you that firm base to put your feet on and to get you a little bit further away from the cable to give that extra range of motion. When it comes to lat pull downs, the easiest thing to do is to just do kneeling lat pull downs if you're doing light enough weight that it won't pick you back up. So you just come over, grab the bar, get down on both knees, and then do your lat pulls that way. And that's fine as long as you're doing higher rep sets. So for me, I weigh 200 pounds on the dot. So as long as I'm doing higher rep sets with 180 pounds or somewhere around there, I'm good to go. But once I start getting lower rep sets and I'm doing 230 pounds, 240 pounds on lat pull downs, you've got to have something to hold you down, or the weight's just gonna pick you up and you're gonna be doing pull-ups instead of lat pull downs. So the solution that we have here, all you need is a weight pin, a towing strap, and then something to sit on, whether that be a sturdy chair or an adjustable plow box or something like that. And the way it works is pretty simple. So you just put the weight pin on the floor, run the weight strap, lay it across the bottom of the weight pin, put a few plates on there, sit down on the chair, and strap yourself down, and then you can go as heavy as you want on your lat pull downs without worrying about the weight picking you up off the ground. We also have some DIY weight plate storage. This was actually a skateboard ramp from when I was a kid. My dad just drilled 3 holes through there, sanded down some spots around those holes, slid some metal pipes through, and then welded those into place. Works for some really good weight plate storage. That's free. And also back here we have an old fish tank stand that was just flipped upside down so that you could put bumper plates right in here through a 2x8 across the top so that it could also be used as a table to put notebooks on and things like that. So another thing, free, just get a little bit creative. There's usually something that you can find to use for weight plate storage and things like that. And the last 2 DIYs that were also free, we took the rubber bands that came around the little end caps here on the barbell, and we put those on the front of the safeties. Since this is just metal right here and there's no UHMW plastic on the front part of the safeties, we just took that and taped that down to protect the knurling of the bar a little bit better here. And then we took the foam that came on the sleeves, and it just so happened to fit perfectly over the pin pipe safeties, and so that way if you do fail a lift, it will keep from scratching up the knurling that way. The next category is attachments and accessories, and we're going to specifically focus on accessories that allow you to do more stuff in your home gym. We won't talk about, wrist wraps, knee sleeves, anything like that. And we're gonna go in a little bit more rapid fire pace here just to keep the video from going too long. So first up, one of the big things is ankle straps. So I have a pair, my mom has a pair, my dad has a pair. Those things are really versatile. They allow you to do a lot of cool things with cables. You can do kickbacks, you can do hamstring curls, you can do leg extensions, you can do some ab exercises, all kinds of really cool things like that. Hip abductions, hip adductions, all of that with just a $15 pair of ankle straps. There are blood flow restriction bands, which this could fit in the must-have category if you don't have a lot of weight to work with, because using blood flow restriction bands can allow you to get some significant muscle growth even if you're using lighter weight. I have a video explaining how that works if you want to learn more about that. And I have a video review on these bands, specifically the Ronin Wrap Razor Edition. I feel like these are probably the best budget option that you could go with for blood flow restriction. And then the upgrade pick from there would be these Saga Fitness automatic blood flow restriction bands. These are really cool, and they get a specific amount of pressure on your arms via an app that connects to these. So this is really, really cool. I have a video on these as well. And then we have a couple of single handles for all of your, curls, your rows, all of that kind of stuff. And then we have a neck harness. Not many people train their neck, so if you could have a neck harness there, you can do neck extensions, neck curls, things like that. Rope handle, again, curls, tricep extensions, things like that. We also have a double D handle, which is also known as a V-grip handle. We have the lat pull down handle, which we had already talked about. The Viking press handle. We have a multi-grip, neutral grip, lat pull down handle, which is probably my favorite attachment out of all of these. And then we have this handy dandy pad, or block rather, for block press on the bench. There's the landmine attachment that we had mentioned a moment ago, and then you can pair that with this longer section of chain to do a few different exercises such as the overhead tricep extensions. And you can combine this chain with the cable and the ankle cuffs to do double leg extension and double leg curl, and a few different ab exercises where you're using both feet, pulling those towards the body at the same time. So this chain adds a ton of variety as well, and is also very cheap. And the last thing in the accessories category is a deadlift jack. Having a full-on, both sides at the same time kind of deadlift jack is the best case option in terms of convenience. However, it does take up a lot of space, and it only does one very specific thing and doesn't actually allow you to do any extra exercises. So for that reason, it might not be the best option for most people out there. Another couple of options for deadlift jacks are the Genesis jack, which I would say is the best space-saving option because this is still small enough to fit in a drawer or to hang up on the wall. And you can just scoop right under the bar, pick one side up at a time. Works really well. You don't have to put a plate on the bar before you can use this. You can just put the bar right on here to start with. Whereas the cheapest option would be something like the dead wedge or even using a 2.5 pound plate. But you have to actually put one plate on the bar first before you can roll the bar up onto this. So these are a few different options depending on your budget, depending on how much space you have. You know, any of these three options could be the best option for you. And then the last accessory, which is not technically even a workout accessory, but something that I did want to mention, is this little laptop tripod. And I use this thing every single day when I work out. When I'm recording, I'll put my script up on the screen and I'll put the iPad on here and just kind of bring this around the room with me so that I always have it with me. Or when I'm working out, I'll have my workout app up on the screen and just have it laying next to the bench or wherever I'm working out at the time. Or sometimes I might just want to watch a YouTube video while I'm working out, so I can have it on the nice big screen. If you have an iPad with a keyboard or if you have a laptop or something like that, then this is something really cool. Or if you just have your music going on your iPad and you don't have speakers or something like that, you can make sure that your music is close to you and kind of follows you around the room. So I thought I'd give that an honorable mention in this category as well. We're gonna very quickly talk about the storage for the dumbbell racks. This rack actually came with these cap dumbbells. It came with 10 pounds up to 30 pounds and came with that rack. It's not the best rack, but it gets the job done, especially since there's only lightweights on there. And then these two racks, I forget the brand, I'll link them below. They're pretty sturdy. You can see they move a little bit, but I'm shaking it pretty hard. And so they're pretty sturdy. And this, I think I got it as an Amazon deal of the day kind of thing for $120. And then I think when we recently purchased the second one of the same rack, I think it's normally $149, so not terribly bad. And they're, you know, pretty sturdy for the price that you're paying for it. And then of course, the Iron Master dumbbells come with their own storage stand. And then right here we have a shotgun mount, shotgun rack style barbell rack. And it's a 3-bar rack, and we got 2 of them. I wanna say these were 40 a piece, if I remember correctly, so the 80 total for these. And then for the storage of the bumpers, we've already talked about the DIY storage. This side, we actually just have a scrap piece of trim to keep the bumpers from rolling away. On the other side here, as I've already talked about, we have the fish tank stand that's upside down for that bumper storage, and then we have the DIY weight tree here. For the flooring, we went with stall mats from Tractor Supply, which is what I would recommend for most people out there. And the flooring is something that is kind of a minor thing, but at the same time, I mentioned this in a previous video, I feel like it's one of the most transformative things about the garage gym here, or the basement gym here, because just having that dedicated floor space just gives it that gym feel. You know, it actually feels like you're going to the gym to work out versus just doing a get-by workout in the basement and just kind of having, you know, some random equipment in the floor in the basement kind of tucked into a corner somewhere. It feels like you have that dedicated gym space. It's like when you walk into this area, it is the gym. And that could just be me, maybe I'm just weird that way, but I feel like it was the biggest thing that we've purchased so far to really make it feel like a gym and not just some equipment at home. These hooks that we have here to hang these accessories on, these are literally just coat rack hangers. These were probably like maybe $5 total. So it's a really cheap option to get your accessories up off the floor or off the counter, hang them up on the wall, make it look a little bit neater, and save some space since you don't have a bunch of clutter in the floor. Lastly, we're gonna finish off with some planned future updates. One thing you might have seen in the background in one of the shots is there's a broken TV sitting over there, a 65-inch TV that has a bad motherboard on it. My dad's eventually, supposedly, gonna fix that. And whenever, if that actually happens, that is gonna go on the wall to the right of the squat rack. So since it's already here, might as well make use of it. And another thing is we're going to move everything that's on that rack right there, all of that is yard sale stuff, so that's eventually gonna be gone. And I'll take that rack down, and then we're gonna put some more flooring. We have extra mats. We're gonna extend the gym in that direction so that we can add more equipment in the future. All of this stuff, we'll figure out some way to reorganize that, move it to the other side of the basement, and in that way we can have a whole extra area of the gym right there. We're also going to wire up some more lighting. You can tell in some of the shots it's really bright when I'm under some of the lights, and some of the places it's not so bright. We actually already have the lights on the ceiling in a few different places. We just need those extra lights to be wired in, and then we're gonna wire in some outlets as well so that you're not having to run extension cords from the breaker box all the way across the room, all the way over to this side of the room to plug things up and things like that. We're gonna add a Treadaway Training banner on the wall. We'll probably hang that right there in front of the squat rack. Funny story about the banner is my wife actually already ordered a banner, but the website that she ordered it from, when it showed the preview, it showed it as a black background, but it actually came as a white banner. And as you know, the Treadaway Training logo is half blue and half white. So when we got this white banner with a white logo on it, you couldn't actually see half of the logo. So it just said Treadaway on there and had half a person on it. So we still need to get another banner, and whenever we actually get around to doing that, we'll put that on the wall right there. We're gonna make another bumper plate storage, kind of like that fish tank one over there. Make a frame with some dividers in there to help the plate stand up and get rid of that piece of trim and have something a little bit nicer right there. And then lastly, eventually, we're gonna get a leg press and a seated calf raise machine. So over time, we're gonna be adding some more things in the garage gym, and we'll update you on those things when that time comes. If you like this video, you can check out the home gym playlist right here, or you can check out the DIY cable options video here. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll talk soon. I've attempted to grow a beard. It's not exactly going very well.